Well, welcome to Let's Talk. I'm your host, Denise Rolark Barnes, and publisher of the Washington Informer. Thank you for tuning in today. Today we have a great show planned, full of a lot of energy, but some great talk about issues that impact our community. And I want to say that we're going to have Dr. Barbara Bazron, Director of the DC Department of Behavioral Health, with us today. You know, this is Mental Health Month, and she's going to share some mental health awareness, support, and access to care options for residents of the District of Columbia. And also, we'll have Emile C. Thompson, Chairman of the Public Service Commission of the District of Columbia, to talk about the upcoming DC Energy Action Summit and Summer Ready DC initiatives designed to help residents prepare for the summer season. We had a little taste of that this week with 90-degree temperatures. Now the temperatures have dropped, the rain has come. So I hope that you all are dressing accordingly, because we don't want any folks getting sick. This is the time of year when those things can happen. So looking forward to having that conversation with Mr. Thompson. And last but not least, finally, we're going to host our monthly Reporters Roundtable, featuring our managing editor, Misha Green, along with reporters Jada Ingleton, Sam P.K. Collins, Stacy Brown, and Richard Elliott, who will be sharing their insights on the latest headlines and stories impacting the DMV and actually the nation and the world. But before we jump into our conversation, I want to invite you to watch this year's Scripps National Spelling Bee. You know, the Washington Informer is the sponsor of the DC Citywide Spelling Bee, as well as the Prince George's Spelling Bee. And our winners will be heading to the what is it? It's the Constitution Hall for the spelling bee, which has come back to Washington, D.C. this year. And so we invite you to watch this year's spelling bee, which kicks off on May the 24th. But the bee will be televised on May the 27th and the 28th. We're rooting for our spellers, Zway Spacetime, an 8th grader at Ralph Ellison Homeschool, who won the Prince George's County Spelling Bee, and Nora Baker, an 8th grader at Bases, DC, who won the DC Citywide Spelling Bee. Exciting thing about both of them, Zway won the DC Citywide Spelling Bee last year. Nora has participated in the DCB for 4 consecutive years. She is persistent, exemplifies persistence. And she finally won the Citywide Spelling Bee, and now she's going to represent the District of Columbia, as Way will represent Prince George's County at the Scripps National Spelling Bee. So I hope that you all will watch, that you'll be rooting for our local spellers. We've been trying to get a national winner. I mean, these kids are amazing. They're amazing. They're amazing in a lot of different ways. Not only are they great spellers, but they're just great all the way, all around. Great students, great the way they serve their community, participating in a lot of other programs. So we are so proud to have them representing our 2 jurisdictions and the Washington Informer or Washington Informer charities this year. So again, don't forget to watch. It's going to be on ION television on May 27th and the 28th. So also, I want you, always have to ask you to pick up a copy of this week's Washington Informer. You know, you can find a newsstand, find a newspaper at a newsstand near you. And if you can't get the printed copy, you can pull up the digital edition online by visiting our website at washingtoninformer.com. And when you go to the website, we ask, we ain't too proud to beg either, you to sign up to become a subscriber and get the Washington Informer delivered to your mailbox. Our newsletter, which is published by Jada, who will be on the show, Jada Ingleton, who will be on the show in a little bit, puts that newsletter together every single day. And so we certainly would like you to see that so that we can keep you abreast of the news impacting you in the DMV. But all we ask for when you go to the website is just to give us your email address. We're not asking for anything else, just your email address. We don't have a paywall, so it's free. And we really would invite you to become a part of the Washington Informer family. We've got a lot to share with you. and it makes it easier when we can send it straight to you, to your email. Also, remember that you can subscribe to this broadcast. If you're on YouTube, we ask you to push the button at the bottom of the screen. Pretty soon we're going to have a little visual of the button at the bottom of the screen to make sure that you become a subscriber to our YouTube channel. That really helps us as well. And you can follow us on Facebook, IG, X, TikTok, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And I think we're on Blue Sky as well. I didn't hear about that, but I think we're on Blue Sky as well. So wherever you are, we are. And whatever you're doing, if it's helping the community, we certainly want to make that a story that we tell in the Washington Informer. So don't forget to follow us, sign up, and become a member of the Washington Informer family. So let's move on with our show because we've got a lot to talk about today. And like I said, May is Mental Health Month. Let's get that right. May is recognized as Mental Health Awareness Month. And why is it important to continue having conversations about mental wellness? What are some of the biggest misconceptions people still have about mental health today? What signs should friends and loved ones look for to determine if someone in their life needs support or behavioral health services? Many people may not realize when a situation has become serious enough to seek professional help. Well, I am so excited to bring on Dr. Barbara Bazron, EC, the director of the Department of Behavioral Health, to really talk about some of these questions. I've asked, you have answers. Welcome, Dr. Bazron. How are you?
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I am so excited that May is Mental Health Awareness Month. However, every month should be Mental Health Awareness Month. And I just want to make sure that our listeners understand that there is no health without mental health.
Mm.
Mental illness can impact anyone, regardless of your age, your economic position, your race, your ethnicity, where you work, and so forth. And so it's really critically important for everyone to learn about the signs and symptoms of mental health and the resources that are available to address them. Learning these things can really help you respond with empathy and confidence to people you love or even to yourself.
Dr. Bazron, I want to ask because, we are hearing a lot. There are more conversations now about mental health than, let's say, in my growing up. Now it's a big conversation, but it seems to come at a time when a mental health crisis has already occurred, and either from a public safety standpoint or domestic violence standpoint or whatever. People are now saying, oh, people really need to reach out to get help before there's this crisis. Um, but how do people find that help?
Well, we are so lucky here within the District of Columbia that our mayor, Bowser, has really invested in mental health services and supports. It is very easy to get services. People can simply dial 988, which is our mental health crisis lifeline, and get the services that they need. Now, you can call, or you can text, or you can chat to get that help. And when you reach the 988 line, what you will be the phone is answered or the chat is answered by a mental health professional that can really talk to you and help you identify what services and supports are needed and then connect you to those services.
Some parents, I guess, or in some households, their children, right, who are in need of services. There are school systems that recognize that children, some of their students, may need some of those services. How do you link that to that generation of folks? I mean, it's good to be able to call a number,
Sure.
and I'm so glad that you all have this number. We're going to put that out there again. But, the range of individuals who need mental health services are from, like little kids, I say, to seniors. So how do we address their needs?
Well, first of all, I really want to dispel a myth.
Mm-hmm.
And the myth that you hear often is that children don't experience mental health issues. They do. They experience those the same as adults. And so, how would you, as a parent or a caregiver, know whether or not your child might be experiencing a mental health issue? You might see a sudden change in mood of a child. A child who was always happy go lucky now becomes sullen and quiet. You may see that the behavior changes in the child. The child is lashing out, is angry, is fighting. You may see that there is a lack of maintaining physical habits. That child that was very neat wouldn't walk out the door to school unless everything was tucked in and so forth, now goes and things are just all over the place. The other thing is we have to be very aware when children begin to withdraw from social contacts. They stay in their room all the time. They don't want to talk to their friends. They don't want to talk to family. Uh, they have mood swings, and they're really beginning to express feelings of hopelessness. And so parents will hear that their child doesn't have any energy to do anything, always feels like depressed, always feels that there's just nothing that they want to do. And those changes really signify that something is going on. Now, for young people, I want parents to know that the Department of Behavioral Health supports school-based behavioral health services in all public and public charter schools. And so young people can get those services where they are all day in school
How
from
did
a certified clinician.
so is there one in every school? Is that what you're saying?
There are services in every school. And
Interesting.
there's a team. Some of those clinicians are clinical staff that the school may have hired. Others are clinicians that DBH has hired.
And does it require any kind of parental consent before a child can actually be seen by a school clinician or to access those services?
Yes, we offer, first of all, there's a range of services that are offered. We offer prevention services, and that's very important because we really want to focus on the resiliency of young people and help them with healthy decision making before they get to the point where there's an issue. All of the young people can receive that service. We also have intervention services, which means that a mental health professional is observing what happens in the classroom, in the hallway, in interactions, and can identify those young people who may need some specific services and supports. If that child needs treatment services, that clinical treatment, then parents and caregivers are involved and need to provide the approval and the consent for those children to receive those services. And I really do hope that family members do that. There are some instances in which young people can assent to services, but we really want parents to and caregivers to consent because children exist within their families and within their communities, and
Right.
the parents are a very important piece of that.
Right. I'm so glad we, sort of narrowed in on that because I think that is something parents need to know. But what are some tips also that you have that that self-care tips
Uh-huh.
that people can use to maintain balance and mental wellness?
First of all, I think that all of us are responsible for our own mental wellness. You can't help others unless you take care of yourself. And I'm going to give you a few tips that I have found to be important. The four M's of mental wellness are movement, exercising, mastery, doing something that you like to do, something that brings you joy, meaningful engagement, staying connected to the people in your life. Those social connections are so important, and mindfulness, and that includes everything like breathing exercise, relaxation exercises, and so forth. For Many people connecting with nature helps. One of the things that I think that we all need to do is maintain a healthy diet. That's very important to our mental wellness. And also, one of the things that we often overlook is the need to get a good night's sleep. Adults need 7 to 9 hours of sleep every night, and children need 9 to 11 hours of sleep every night. And sleep is restorative. That's when our body rebuilds itself and replenishes itself, so it's important. The other thing I suggest is setting healthy boundaries. Do what you can manage. Don't overpromise and underdeliver, because then that creates stress. No is not a bad word, to set those limits. And then lastly, everyone should do things that bring you joy. If you feel that there is a need for any kind of mental health support, please do not hesitate to contact our department at 988. You can text, chat, or call for confidential mental health support 24/7. Around the clock, those lines are available. And I think that that is so important. It is free and it is confidential. But once again, I just want everyone to know that if you have a mental health problem, you are not alone. Health help is available. You do not have to struggle alone. So please do not hesitate to contact us. And I want everyone to mind their mental health. I want to thank you today for giving us this opportunity to share information during Mental Health Awareness Month.
Well, I certainly didn't have to ask any more questions, although I have a lot left, but I know have run out of time. But I think that message was very clear, and hopefully people will get that, and we will continue to promote this 988 number, Dr. Bazron. I appreciate you being with us to share this important information. And like you said, Mental Health Month is maybe the month of May, but good mental health or addressing mental health is something we do 365 days a year, should we say. So
Absolutely.
thanks so much for being with us.
And thank you for having me.
My pleasure.
And mind your mental health.
Yes, 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 Dr. Bazron.
Okay.
Yes, yes. Thank you. All right. Yes, mind your mental health. I didn't get a chance to tell her, but I know someone who cannot sleep. And it's been amazing to see what has happened to him physically, emotionally, and mentally by losing those hours of sleep. It's a scary situation. So it's serious. We think, we can get by on 3 or 4 hours of sleep. And some of our kids are being allowed, not being forced. As so little people, sometimes you have to force them, to have a bedtime hour that allows them to get that 9 to 11 hours of sleep. But it's extremely important. Sleep and good food. Anyway, moving on. I am happy to bring on Emile C. Thompson, who is chair of the Public Service Commission, to talk to us a little bit about what we're going to do or expect to have at the DC Energy Action Summit that's coming up here in the District of Columbia. Is Mr. Tom. I'm making you a doctor now, Emil.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
All right, it's an easier way. I, bestow that upon you. But anyway, thank you so much for being with us today.
My pleasure. And sorry, I'm having a little technical difficulties this morning, so I'm on my phone, but doesn't change the message though.
Wonderful. Well, let's get on with the message. The DC Energy Action Summit. Tell us about it.
So the DC Energy Action Summit is a 2-day event. The first day is this upcoming Wednesday, May 27th at MLK Library. And it's going to be discussions about what's going on in the energy landscape, and particularly how you can have more control of your bill. We'll start the day off with a panel with industry leaders talking about energy affordability and housing. We'll then have some power talks where we have people come and talk about data centers, how they're affecting the energy landscape. Then we'll have another panel about businesses and energy affordability. We'll also have a keynote address from the mayor, and then we'll conclude with the utilities, Pepco, Washington Gas, and DC Water coming and talking about how they are invested in what they can do to help drive affordability. The second day will be on May 29th, which is next Friday at Sycamore and Oak. And that's going to be more of a community outreach and engagement event where we'll have over 20 different vendors offering assistance and partnering to show how they can help you achieve energy affordability in your homes. And so we're inviting everybody to come out. It's free, and you can just register at the website, at our website, dcpsc.org/EAS.
Many of these candidate forums. Of course, the whole issue of energy affordability is a hot topic right now, and all kinds of answers are being given to voters about why their energy bills are rising and what the council is going to be able to do to address it and what have you. But this sounds like a good opportunity for people to go and forget, I mean, pardon the phrase, but go, to hear it come out of the horse's mouth and to ask directly these questions to, you got everybody there: DC Water, Washington Gas, Pepco. Is this sort of a new recent thing for you all to collaborate? What makes that?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So when we first started doing our summits, we started back in 2020, and at that time was really focused on the clean energy transition, right? But we knew because of what we saw happening in the region at large with data centers, electrification, that affordability was going to becoming a fast topic that people were going to be talking about. So this year we pivoted from focusing solely on clean energy, but really the intersection of the two and how we can still have clean energy but have affordable bills. And you and I have talked about this before, but the commission only regulates 27% of that bill, and so the other 73%, there's a lot of things we can do there to help lower that portion of the bill that's not really being talked about. And so we certainly hope to discuss a lot of that at this summit.
Okay, and then the event at Sycamore and Oak, I mean, folks can really talk to vendors. Everybody's knocking on your door now talking about, giving you solar, and there's a lot of questions people out there have, and I'm hoping, that they will turn out to both of those events to get those questions asked. I mean, we're talking about innovation. It's going to cost, but is there the focus is, I would think, on how do you maintain affordable and reliable energy sources for residents. I'm sure that's what you all are focusing on.
Definitely, definitely. How do we tap into existing tools, right? So some of it's going to be talking about our utility discount programs. Some of it's going to be talking about the community solar programs that don't require any investments from the from the residential homeowner or from the resident, right? Just being able to tie into those existing programs to leverage savings on your bill. It was 95 degrees earlier this week, and everybody started turning on their air conditioning. So what can you do in that instance to help drive down your electricity costs because it's going to be a hot summer?
Yeah, so what would you hope that folks will walk away with after attending the Energy Action Summit?
Well, I think two things. One, understanding how they're understanding their bill and their usage and how it affects that price, but also understanding what they can do to save money, and how they can access again these different programs. I think what's particularly unique about this is because it's a 2 day focused event. While day one may be more talking and hearing things for the first time, day two is really going to be about coming to the people where they are and meeting them where they are. And so, you have up right here, right now, the day two event at Sycamore and Oak. It's going to be a family environment. We're going to have some face painting out there. We're going to have some music. We're going to have, like I said, over 20 different vendors talking about how you can save. So we really want to bring people out, make this a community event, meet people where they are, so they have the knowledge and power to really be able to have more say so over their bill.
I know that you can't predict, but I would think that you all maybe have taken a look, or maybe even the utilities companies have taken a look at um, not only the impact of public awareness, but also, I mean, how much people could really save if they practice some of the things that the utility companies or you all are espousing? I mean, I know
Yeah.
I walk around. I hate to get personal, but I walk around my house sometimes saying, "Why is that still plugged in? And why is that plugged in? And how much energy is can can people really save by doing unplugging a lot of?"
Yes, they can. I think, and it's funny. I think at one point in time, I think our society was very conscious of energy conservation. Turn off the lights, right? And we got to a point where because prices had dropped, people kind of got lulled into a false complacency. But we always say, of course, the cheapest kilowatt is the one you don't use. So unplugging those toasters, those microwaves when you're not using them, turn the lights off when you're not in the room. Um, Maybe pushing yourself a little bit on that thermostat instead of having it 72, have it 74, right? Maybe don't wear that sweater in the house when it's hot. Wear a t-shirt so you can be a little bit, a little bit more comfortable. All these things make a huge difference when you get that bill. So energy conservation is certainly number one on our list. And then, we talk about the utility discount programs. We talk about solar for all, where you can subscribe and get the benefits of solar, even if you don't have it on your home. All these, again, are tools that really help drive down your costs. And so we'll be talking about it all.
Wonderful. Well, I want to thank you for being with us today. I want to give you an opportunity to shout it out one more time where the Energy Action Summit's going to take place, the days, the times, the hours.
Okay, definitely. So day one is on May 27th, right downtown at MLK Library, 9th and G. Everybody knows where it is. And that will be from 10 to 3:30. And then day two is going to be at Sycamore and Oak. And that's going to be an after hours event from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. So people can get there after work and come. You can meet local experts. There'll be family fun, family treats, and food vendors. So and these are both free events. So we hope everybody comes out. DCPSC.org/EAS to register. And I hope to see you there as well, Denise.
Yeah, well, I have to confess, I will be traveling next week,
Okay.
but
Okay.
and I need to be there because I have all kinds of questions I want to ask folks myself. And
Yes.
people are, I guess, the last thing, we're electrifying everything, right?
Mm,
One now, no more gas stoves, and now no more gas powered automobiles, right? So
yeah.
people are even putting electrical, whatever you call them, in their homes.
Hmm.
All of this is increasing, I guess, the need to supply more electricity in our
Yeah.
communities, which drives up costs.
Right.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and that's certainly what we're seeing between data centers and electrification across the Mid-Atlantic region. It's creating more demand for electricity, and we're not able to build enough supply to keep up with it. And that's a lot of what you're seeing on your bill. It just costs more now for energy, for electricity, and that's unfortunately something that the commission doesn't control.
right.
Um, but it's a reality, and so when people start getting those high bills, that's what we were seeing.
Wow. Okay. All right. Well, Emile Thompson, thank you very much for being with us. Thank
Always.
to the Public Service Commission for this event, and I'll have to watch the reruns.
Thank you as always, Denise. I appreciate it.
All right. Likewise. Have
Okay.
a great day,
You too.
and happy Memorial Day as well.
Thank you.
Okay.
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 Bye bye.
Bye bye. So, folks, yeah, I don't know what to say. This is a conversation, but one thing I'm happy about, and we will bring her probably on the show. We have a reporter at the Washington Informer who really focuses on environmental and sustainability issues. And if we have not been focused on that, even within our own communities and within our own households, you can tell that this is a big topic that we need to focus on because it's a pocketbook issue. That's what I call it, a pocketbook issue. Anyway, speaking of reporters, I am so thrilled to bring on our reporters from the Washington Informer, our managing editor, Misha Green, reporters Jada Ingleton, who's going to sort of maybe co-host a little bit with me today. Hey, Jada. Hey, Misha.
Hello.
Um, Stacy Brown, Hope Sam P.K. Collins is there, and as well as Richard Elliott, who covers Prince George's County for us. We got a lot to talk about, folks, and in 25 minutes, there is so much going on. We have these conversations at our editorial meetings, just trying to keep the stories up to date, trying to keep ourselves informed so that we can keep our community informed. So I want to thank you all for being with me today. And, one of the first things that, Monday we're putting the paper together. Next thing we know, the 187th or 188th mass killing so far this year takes place out in San Diego, California. And, the interesting thing to me about it is one, the president's response, Stacey Brown, who talked about, oh, this is a terrible situation. We have not gotten that kind of a serious response to gun violence in America since he's been president. And then when I looked at the penalties, I was shocked. Sam is gone, but if he comes back, didn't know that the president had moved to reinstate the death penalty in the District of Columbia for federal crimes, but not, we as voters, outlawed the death penalty. But Stacey, I'm going to jump to you really quickly.
Yeah, well, yeah, as you said, the president has reinstated the death penalty for federal crimes in D.C. That's been their notch or their thing, and this idea that they have taken over D.C. is interesting. We had somebody from you had somebody from the Bazron administration on. The mayor's leaving office, and I'm sure she's probably not too happy with how she's leaving or at the time she's leaving with this oppressive administration in charge. But the death penalty is something that we even saw yesterday in Tennessee, for instance. Just to give you for instance, a black man with mental illness, is Mental Health Month, right? Um, who probably, by all accounts, shouldn't have been on death row in the first place. Tony Carruthers is his name. And they fought and fought and fought to get his death penalty revoked. He goes to the death chamber yesterday, and they couldn't find the vein. They poked him 100 times and still couldn't find the right vein. Somebody intervened. It wasn't the governor. It probably was God, right? But they gave him a stay for at least a year. But the man clearly had, for years, they've been saying his mental health. It was a situation where he represented himself because they couldn't find an attorney to represent him 30 years ago. But I say that to say that this is the problem when you have a Trump administration or people like a Trump administration running the government and having such power over D.C. D.C., of course, we know is a predominantly black city still. They may not call it Chocolate City anymore. It's still a predominantly black city, and black folks are suffering the most at the hands of this administration.
Well, I think, I don't know if anybody wants to jump in on this, but the whole issue of gun violence has not gone away. And the president himself has been allegedly, the target, and I hate to put it that way, of 3 attempts on his life. But yet the gun lobby continues to be very strong. We're still seeing violence not only here in the District of Columbia, but all over the place where people are using guns legally to kill innocent people. So I don't. It's a concern, but there seems to be no movement in making sure that the gun lobby or the anti-gun lobbyists are getting their say. We're not really hearing much anymore.
Well, also, and I don't mean to take up everybody's time, but when you come the gun issue, unfortunately, it's not just a Trump administration situation. We've been dealing with this for a long time, and it really boils down to as simple as you have too many lawmakers with their pockets filled by the NRA, and that is really the bottom line.
Agreed with Stacey with one additional point, and it was something that I think a lot of people felt after Sandy Point, when Obama could go on TV and cry over the unnecessary and senseless murder of little white children, and there is no action. There is not a desire from the majority of the country. What was one of Charlie Kirk's quotes before he passed away? That something along the lines of mass killings are part of the compromise in having guns in society. Now, I don't know what his comments on that would be now, but that's something that he said that reflects quite a few American people, primarily white gun owners.
And we know why Charlie Kirk can't say anything now, because of the use of a gun that took his life prematurely. Jada, did you want to
Yeah, I wanted to jump in and say, like, one thing that's been very interesting is when we're talking whether it's gun violence, whether it's crime, particularly in the faith community. I work a little bit specifically with religion, and their thing is there's a whole mass thing on violence right now. And when you have a leader who particularly is condoning it, who, when we look from even back with January 6th to the war that we've been in to this extent, it's like, everyone's kind of almost either desensitized to the violence that we're seeing, or they've, in his supporter sense, normalized it and think, okay, well, this is the norm, this is America. And I think right now what we are seeing in terms of a community-based movement, DRB, definitely not on the actual lawmaking side, but they're trying to really get back to the stance of nonviolence, of coordinated peace rallies. Repairers of the Breach just hosted a series of coordinated peace rallies on May 11th, including here in the district, where they were right in front of the White House, calling out what's going on with the voting right efforts, calling that violence, policy violence, gun violence. And at the end of the day, it really does start with some sort of leadership, to your point, Stacey, that's saying this is a problem. And I think if we don't have that, it's really becoming like a citizenship issue. Like, we have to realize this is not okay for us. Because I feel like a lot of things, and it's sad to say, most people don't take anything serious until it happens to them or someone they know. And we hate for it to get to that point when there are a lot of examples we've had where we could have done some reform by now.
Well, you talked about voting rights, and this is another assault on America, particularly Black Americans, because of the recent Supreme Court decision. But folks are standing up. It looks like we've had success in Georgia with Keisha Lance Bottoms, who won the nomination for, I guess, a Democratic nomination for governor of Georgia. And we're keeping our eyes peeled on other elections that are taking place in these states, where these districts, these primaries have been held off, and these while the redistricting, the redesign of the maps continue. Sam, locally, or Richard, locally, how do you think that that's affecting us, either in the district or in Prince George, in the state of Maryland? Not Sam?
I can't, I'll speak locally. What I'll say is that DC under the Trump administration has experienced a similar but arguably more volatile form of interference with Congress pretty much striking down our laws. That affected the budget season in terms of the decoupling that we tried to do from the so-called Big Beautiful Bill. And even with the Trump administration recently exploring the DC Code and exploring the possibility, a very strong one at that, of prosecuting parents of young people who break curfew. So there's a lot that's happening, and the organizers who I speak with on the ground, Nene Taylor included, they called DC a test case for what the Trump administration wants to do across the United States. So it's a very treacherous time, and it's to an extent informed the election season.
Sam, I'm wondering, and sorry to go
because
back.
The candidates for mayor. Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, and I'm sorry you broke up a second, so I want you to go back to what you were saying. But I'm just curious, going back to this conversation of violence, and you talked to so many amazing local leaders who are on the ground fighting for justice in the district and combating some of the challenges happening, particularly with the offering opportunities for youth with this youth curfew issue. But is violence in particular something that the local freedom fighters and organizers are focusing on, particularly as we navigate a crazy election season locally and other things as well?
So, Misha, great question. The election season has been one of that versus the moderates and those who have taken on what some may consider more extreme views as it relates to the curfew situation. It's about whether to institute a curfew versus addressing the underlying issues that dictate why a young person might be outside at all times of the night. Uh, DC Council Member Janice Lewis George, who is running for mayor, has caught some criticism for not supporting the curfew. Her rationale in response to Councilmember or former Councilmember McDuffie is that the mayor should be able to utilize the curfew depending on the current situation at hand. It shouldn't be carte blanche. So her apprehension is that during a time of federal officer occupation, where the National Guard, where ICE and other federal agents are at metro stops and the like armed, it's not prudent for the mayor to institute a curfew. That's her concern. And speaking with the activists, their concerns are about third spaces, whether to how to fund third spaces. As a matter of fact, I wrote an article not too long ago featuring Ward 6 DC Council candidate Gloria Naughton. She spoke about her efforts in Ward 6, which is a ward that has all 4 wards inside of it to some extent. Also, during the budget cycle, Janice Lewis George, as well as Zachary Parker, they collaborated around the securing of funds for DPR funding. So, it's about tackling the current issue, but more so tackling the underlying issues. And just so that some breaking news, the permanent curfew law, from my understanding, is in effect. If not, Mayor Bowser has instituted a curfew effective now. So 8 p.m. there will be curfew zones. Which ones I'm not sure about, but 11 p.m. tonight there should be no young people on the street unless they want to risk arrest or detainment.
I want to go back to Misha's question, though, Sam, and I, whether you support the curfew or not. I think that's still going to be a debatable issue, but it's not a debatable issue about crime and violence.
Right.
So, and the thing about, I think there was a story, and I don't remember the details. A 5-year-old, who was shot, but in the middle of the day. It was 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and so, gun violence is still an issue here in the District of Columbia, and people are still concerned about it, from what I can tell. But I don't know, what if that responds to Misha's question or if it's what you're hearing out there. But I wanted other folks to kind of jump in. I know I left Richard out there hanging about redistricting and the impact in Maryland, where you have a governor who is really taking on the president in a lot of different ways about the way he wants to manage his state. But even the violence out there in Prince George's County is something that, people are concerned about.
Yes, ma'am. I have several points. I'm going to start with the positive. We're talking about gun violence as a huge issue, and we've had a huge success in the state of Maryland with Baltimore Mayor Brandon Scott, who has successfully partnered with state and federal entities, with Safe Streets, which is based on DC not violence interruption, and they've cut gun violence, homicide specifically, more or less in half in the span of a couple of years. So there has been adamant success in addressing gun violence when there's, a mayor that sees it as a priority, when there's community institutions with funding that have very, very manageable requests and ability to operate. So there is some ability to address it that we've seen successfully in Maryland. Continuing, Jada Ingleton, you said something brilliant earlier about policy violence. Killing 15 children in a classroom is regarded as mass violence, and I agree with that fully. Defunding millions of children from food, from quality education, and from housing is viewed as normal fiscal conservatism. The state of Maryland has taken outside of DC, the state of Maryland's taken the biggest brunt from the policy violence of the Trump administration, most particularly the mass firing of Black women from the federal government, which has decimated Black women employment, which has decimated the state and the local budgets, which has decimated quite a few things. And it's been a deliberate part of his plan. Now, finally, about redistricting. The governor wanted to do redistricting last session. The state Senate president, for a variety of reasons, some I would call legitimate and some I would call political, decided not to do redistricting last session. following the Virginia case, where somehow you're allowed to redistrict the entire South just because you feel like it, but you can't redistrict Virginia when the majority of Virginia voters demand redistricting. In Maryland, there is more talk about a special session. I do not anticipate a special session before the primary, before the primary election, but I have heard from numerous voters in Maryland, where the Voting Rights Act has been passed as a state law. When talking about the Voting Rights Act nationally, I see stiffened spines and increased desire to go vote and make their voices heard.
Wow, well, let's hope so. Let's hope so, because we have a primary coming up here on June 16th in the district, and your primary in Maryland is June, is it the 23rd?
Yes,
Richard?
ma'am.
Yeah. And so looking at those numbers, I mean, we're hooping and hollering and demonstrating about what the administration is doing, but the real test is going to be who shows up.
Yes, and while we're on that point, Misha Green edited an
I was
awesome
just about to say
Hey,
that,
you
Richard.
got it. No, you
No,
got it.
no. I was gonna just ask the question. I was gonna ask a question, which is for you to break it down, please. You edited. I mean, you wrote a piece. I simply edited it. So please talk about your reporting with the confusion that is the mail-in ballots in Maryland.
Okay, attention for anybody that ain't been listening in Maryland. If you received a vote by mail ballot as of yet that says original, it is invalidated. It will not count. You should not waste postage on it. You should not waste gas going to drop it off. Replacement ballots are on the way. Will be counted. Either you can mail them after they arrive, you can vote early, or you can vote in person. The State Board of Elections had a vendor issue, which not only has the State Board of Elections administrator, but also the governor and other elected officials have been going around telling people about. The risk within this is there are a variety of primaries. For example, Sam P.K. Collins, we talked about District 41 in Baltimore City between Malcolm Ruff and the indicted senator, who I'm not giving additional name recognition to. There are county council races in Prince George's that will likely be very close. And in the event that you lose by 5 or 10 votes, will you be able to sue the Board of Elections alleging that you lost the election because of this error? That is a kind of legal gray area that we won't really know until after the election. But in the meantime, please vote by replacement ballot, or go vote early, or go vote in person. Don't send in the original. It's a waste of stamps. It's a waste of gas to turn it in.
Right. Thank you, Richard. I know in the district, Sam and Jada, we're about to do this ranked choice voting. Stacey, I don't know. I know it's happening in other places, and we tell folks, don't be afraid, don't be scared to fill out the ballot. Fill it out, and you got a first choice, a second choice, a third choice, a fourth choice, and a fifth choice. So, but some folks are still not happy with this choice that they have in the district. I want to move quickly because two things that are happening, one in the district and in Prince George's. Now, are we looking at a new chancellor, right, and a new superintendent? Sam, we've heard three candidates actually say in a forum that if they were elected, they would get rid of our current chancellor, Farabee. Well, he beat them. He's beat them to the bat, or whatever you call it, because he's already announced that he's leaving. I mean, if you were to evaluate his leadership, what grade would you have given him? And do you think it was really time for him to go?
You putting me on the spot.
Well,
man.
The interview now is probably not going to matter that much, right?
No, it's not. I give him a C. I'm not gonna hold you, and I give him a C because he did shepherd DCPS through the pandemic, and DCPS has become the envy of school systems across the country in terms of post-pandemic recovery. At the very same time, the Washington Teachers Union, from my understanding, has more than 160 employee relations board complaints currently up the pike right now related to DCPS's alleged violation of the collective bargaining agreement. So, there are just some things that, and I'm talking about the contract that took less than a year, to get solidified. And even during that, Chancellor Farabee, from what I was told, was not at the table. He let the lawyers take it on. And it got to a point where the teachers had to file a complaint with the Public Employees Relations Board, and they actually won because they found that DCPS was not working in good faith. And that, from my vantage point, speaks to what Chancellor Farabee and Mayor Bowser are not talking about. Yes, the retention rates are high, even though, we can talk about manipulation of figures. Yes, teachers are high performing, but what are you doing to teachers that are not high performing? Are there coaching opportunities available? The impact evaluation, which the DC Council is funding a task force around, it's been weaponized in the past to punish teachers who criticize administration. One of whom I interviewed, who's been relegated to becoming a substitute teacher. You also have the relay curriculum, which has been used in schools predominantly east of the river to acclimate young people to prison. So walk in a straight line down the hallway and be quiet. Raise your hand if you want to go somewhere. And the woman, Mary Ann Stinson, who was an instructional superintendent, she received kickbacks to proliferate the curriculum throughout the school system. And Vega, the full name escapes me, but they just found her, in violation of that. We're talking about a woman from the time that she was running Truesdale Elementary as principal, received up to $170,000 to proliferate a jail-like curriculum throughout the school system. And this happened under Farabee's nose. Let's not even talk about budget transparency. Let's not even talk about schools first in budgeting.
I want to talk about literacy, math and reading. I mean, have our scores gotten any better?
They've gotten close to pre-pandemic levels, but even that was asinine. I wanted to say the other word. It was asinine. We're talking about, and I looked at the 2025 scores for CAPE, which replaced Park. We're talking about less than 50% of young people approaching math and reading proficiency. And yes, it reached pre-pandemic levels, but before the pandemic, we're talking about a third of DC students across the board. And if you go east of the river, it may be even less than that.
Well, the last thing too is we're up on graduation now, and we know that graduation rates in the district have historically been pretty low. Have we? And I want to talk about the transition there in because you all have an interim superintendent in Prince George's, Richard, and folks are unhappy with the process, but I think there's going to be someone announced pretty soon. But what about the graduation rates? Have you heard anything about that, Sam?
They've raised 10 percentage points under Farabee's watch. So it was 65 when he came in, about 2018, 2019. They're at 75% right now, although, there is criticism around what they call social promotion. So, as a college professor, I'm not going to, I'm not going to speak too much on that. But what I'll say is the teachers who I've spoken with, they say, look beyond the figures. How are they calculating the figures? What's the raw data showing? And I'll stop there.
Richard, before you respond, because I want to add to DRB's question for both you and Sam, you can also jump in from the DC perspective. I think there's also a little bit of, or just in general, when we think about, particularly in the district, a lot of people are looking at candidates that will either, tackle statehood, tackle this, that, and the third, but then things like education are also this underlayer with this particular transition. Whoever the mayoral candidate is going to be selecting the new chancellor. So it's like, do you think both from the DC perspective and in Maryland that there should be there's other issues that might be getting lost in the fray coming off of a year of federal occupation and what we just saw happening in Trump's first full year in his second term?
I mean, what I'll say is, and I'll let Richard go, based on what I've seen from Trump, I'm not even sure if he'll let go of his position. I'm not even sure if he'll even recognize who the next mayor is going to be, depending on, who it is. So they still got to deal with that. And in terms of the education piece, there's been criticism around the press corps' supposedly underreporting of education issues, But education, that's why I've been trying to go a bit harder more recently, because education is the nexus for all of the other issues. Young people don't attend school because they're scared, of walking to and from without getting shot. They might be hungry. Parents might not, they might be working 2 or 3 jobs, so they really can't keep track of grades and things like that. So it all, funnels into the education system. And DC spends quite a lot of money on education each and every year on each student, and even with that, they say that stuff has improved. But like I said before, under 50% of the population, student population, approached proficiency on the CAPE examination. So, like, what's really happening?
Thank you.
Richard, you want to jump in quickly?
Yeah, in my opinion, the wide variety of Miss Denise Rolock Barnes called them shenanigans and mishaps ongoing in Prince George's County government, whether it be the nonprofit money move around, whether it be the hiring of no-show jobs, whether it be any sort of variety of things. Most recently, the planning board chair resigning when he was being pressured to leave. These issues have become so predominant in every phone conversation, text conversation, social media conversation, combined with that the local entities don't have really any educational pull outside of the, just the superintendent selection. That stuff, just kind of general competence and confidence in government, has become issues number 1, 2, and 3 in Prince George's. And the Kirwan Commission and the general blueprint for education, which the governor did try to water down last session and did to a certain degree water down last session. I don't know if I've heard anybody use the word Kirwan since the end of the legislative session out loud.
Folks, we could, I think when we do these reporters conversations, I think it needs to be a little bit longer than 30 minutes because there's a lot of topics we weren't able to discuss. And I think going deep into issues that really impact our community that folks are talking about needs a little bit more time than we've been able to give. But before I go, it's called a roundtable, so I'm going to go around the table and I'm going to ask everybody. I mean, we picked some topics, but we want to find out what your topics are. So, Stacey Brown, I'm going to start with you.
Well, I mean, look, we was talking about this $1.776 billion slush fund that the president, Misha and I have talked about this. She texted me not long ago about it. This slush fund that he set up for really folks like the January 6ers, the Proud Boys, in which Enrique, whatever his last name is, from the Proud Boys, has already put in or said he's going to put in like a $5 million claim. This is my thought, Denise, on this has been and continues to be, where are all the others? I mean, and I'm not just talking about Democrats. I'm talking about Republicans, particularly Republicans who've been in the game for a long time. Where are those people to stand up and say, wait a minute? I mean, Richard Nixon had to leave office for, compared to what Donald Trump's administration and Donald Trump has done, it's like a lint compared to all of the other dust and dirt that we see in this administration. Nixon was forced out of office by both parties because of something that really now turns out, in comparison, to be such a white lie, if you will, compared to this. It's like a Nixon shoplifting. Trump is committing treason.
Well, he said he could do it. He said he could
do it. But where are these folks? We're there are voters who talk about the Democrats being weak, which is true. But what about the Republicans? If the Democrats are weak, what are the Republicans? Where is the person that's the people? The Supreme Court is in his back pocket. Clarence Thomas is a waste of a human being. This is absolutely asinine that people stand by and complain about corruption when all we know now, the norm has become corruption. Right. So that's my topic.
It's Stacey, to add on to it. Imagine the sitting president of the United States suing the tax collecting agency, saying that he was never going to have to ever file or report taxes again, more or less, or any members of his family. And on top of that, the individuals that beat people like Harry Dunn and the other Capitol cops and called them slurs and literally smeared feces on the walls of the Capitol building deserve to be multimillionaires. So, Stacey, but your answer is the few Republicans that ever cared to talk back, they're sitting at home unemployed. They have lost their primaries. They have even Bill Cassidy. Bill Cassidy went against all of medical credentials and logic, voted for RFK, who is, willfully trying to cause a pandemic on all of us. And what was the thanks from the people of Louisiana? Bill Cassidy's going to be sitting at home in January.
Wow.
So for the very few Republicans that ever had a spine, they've either A, become unemployed, B, decided that power and money is more important than anything else, or C, they are in league and in line with, in essence, the descendants of the Confederates and the Nazis who now control the United States federal government.
Well, hold your tongue, Richard. I mean, don't hold back. Geez, okay. Misha, got you next.
Okay, so I have a very few, but a couple of things on. So the first is there's so much coming up. June is Black Music Month. We are also celebrating the Juneteenth, I'll say first of all, but also the 250th anniversary. But looking at it from not only a Black history perspective, but a DC Black history perspective. And of course, the Washington Informer has all the news you can use about the elections in Washington, D.C., Prince George's County. And really thank you, Stacey, for the pulse that you've kept nationally and everything that's happening. So we have all of that for you. Second thing is the word of today's Reporters Roundtable is asinine, apparently. And third, I just have to say thank you to everybody for all the hard work that you've been doing, keeping a pulse on everything that's happening right now in the world. It's not easy, and I really am just proud of all the work that is happening. So I wanted to say that on the record.
I should have given you the last word, but
Sorry.
you didn't get the last word. All right, Sam. I'm gonna give Jada the last word. Sam.
Oh.
Yeah, ranked choice voting. It's a lot going on. The candidates are going band for band. Just like Chumley said, yes, Chumley, they all going band for band. So what we have as far as the at-large race, Jacques Patterson and Councilmember Donnie Crawford, who's running for the rest of the term that Kenyon McDuffie vacated, they're clicking up against Alyssa Silverman. So you can vote for one and vote the other second, as they announced last week. Greg Jackson, Lisa Raymond, and Candace Tiana Nelson, they're clicking up as well in an at-large Democratic race for Anita Bonds' seat that's about 9 candidates deep. During the mayoral debate, Janice Lewis-George, who's running against Kane McDuffie and a bevy of other candidates, that's another word, she said she's still considering her number 2, who she would support. I can't quite predict whether or not she'll follow through on that. And I feel like there's another one that I'm missing. Oh, Ward 1. Rashida Brown and Miguel Doramo Trende, they were the first ones to jump out the gate. So they're clicking up against the other candidates, which includes Aparna Raj and my good sister Jackie, who used to work in the mayor's office of Latino affairs. Jackie Reyes, forgive me. Thank you. Shout out to Jackie Reyes. But Miguel Doramo Trinde and Rashida Brown, they were the first to jump out the gate. And pretty much what all the candidates said was this was a way to consolidate support. What they did was they were in the background examining each other's platforms, and they were seeing similarities and some potential to corner the market of the voters. So I'll leave it there. Very exciting reporting coming up, I promise you.
Can I ask a question real quick, Sam? In your opinion, a yes, no, or a will see, do you think that ranked choice voting adds more coalitional politics or it worsens divides in politics?
And I think it adds more because you can't, because on the first run, you got to get 51%. So people already are feeling inclined to click up. Now, whether the voters follow, and another thing is the voter education. Anthony Muhammad, he's a write-in candidate for mayor. Anthony Muhammad, a former ANC out of Ward 8, and he posted his ballot online last week or earlier this week, and he filled it out wrong. He filled out himself across the board on the same row, and that already invalidates his ballot. So that calls into question who else is going to fill out the ballot incorrectly. And there's been concern among some members of the Democrats United to Free DC slate, who I'm also going to write about in addition to the Free DC slate. But there's also been concern about how much voter education has been around in filling these ballots, because there's a lot of prediction around the ballots being invalidated, and even there's concern around whether we're even going to get the results on June 16th. It probably won't be until the 23rd. I'm not going to hold you, because you got to do the first round, then the second round, then you got to count the ballots that are being mailed in. So, get ready for a ride, y'all.
Well, announcement, I know that the Board of Elections has been holding community meetings in all 8 wards, all over, any place anybody wanted them to come and talk about how to fill out those ballots. But they will be on Reporters Roundtable with, I don't know who's hosting, Misha or Jada, one of you, next week to talk about ranked choice voting. So we want to do our part to help to educate. Richard, you got like a minute to give us your topic.
All right, we're going to talk about how to cook the perfect hot dog. Step 1, you get out the cast iron skillet. Number 2, you put the beer in. Number 3, you put the hot dogs in. Number 4, you put in the cut up onions. You put in a little bit of onion powder, a little bit of garlic powder. You start cooking. You put the steamer on top with a little rack so the buns can get the steam on them. Once they're maybe about 5 minutes later, you flip them over. You take them out, you put them in a bun, and then this is the exact order: bun, mustard, hot dog, chili, beans, coleslaw, crushed up chips, mustard. That is my closing statement. I'm going to cook that tomorrow for some friends.
All right, I'm sure you're going to have a
Memorial Day, Richard.
Happy Memorial Day, I guess, to
I
Richard.
mean, that was very. Now you're gonna have to give like a hamburger recipe or something for those hot dogs, because it sounded good.
My goal for 2025 was clean the garage for my grandma. I did it. My goal for 2026 was make hot dogs perfectly, and I've already done it.
Yes.
You're up next, Jada.
I mean, you guys just make it harder and harder to end. But I mean, I don't have no special recipes, but I am also cook. Oh, I didn't even mean to do that. I'm also cooking a few stories. Coming up specifically, I've had the pleasure of keeping a post on a lot of the preservation efforts that are going on in DC. So while we're keeping you informed on what's going on in our elections, I've also been looking at some of those policies that people are trying to get started to boost community wealth building. Look forward to a particular piece I'm working on Nanny Helen Burroughs coming up. But just in general, it seems to be the trending topic, both in my reporting and around the neighborhood, is people want more of a say in what this city is, what it looks like, and who are the wealth and the owners around here. So a lot of conversation on economic development, and I think that is also, Sam, going to be a hot topic in these candidates for these upcoming elections. But yeah, stay tuned. And like Nisha said, we're going to keep the fun for Black Music Month. And we have a great, exciting edition for our 250th that we're working on as well. Or not ours, but America's. Yes.
Ours, Black people's.
Black people, yes.
In
I'm a
closing,
Juneteenth guy.
I just want to
Yes, we for sure, Sam, for sure.
So y'all can claim that if y'all want to.
Yeah, that's why we got Juneteenth. We better celebrate it.
That's right. In closing, I just want to say that I missed the funeral, but yesterday I was really reminded when I went into a drive-through to get a cup of coffee, and I wish I had the photo with you all. I was really sad to see the penny is gone. The penny has been laid to rest. And the restaurant said, please don't give us Give us what? Give us a credit card or exact change because we have no pennies to give.
Yes.
So I don't know what other people have experienced with the loss of the only brown piece of change that's out there, but don't become a penny. Although, like like the rest of the brown people, those pennies are going to have great value in
Mm-hmm.
the future. They're going to have great value. So I'm going to go home and find out the oldest penny I have
Yes.
and see what I can. I'm not going to cash it in. I'm going to hold on to it. It's going to pass on to my great grandchildren as soon as I have a grandchild. But anyway, uh,
There are steps there, Denise.
I know,
There's levels to it.
I've got time, but I just have.
Hint, hint to her children.
Thank you all, reporters. You all are on it. I really appreciate it. I think Misha said it all. And we will be back together. I hope that we can do our roundtable in person at some point. But it's always good to do it here. I want to thank, our producers, Sherry Lassiter and Jamon Jackson for working in the background, for keeping this going. I hope you'll have a wonderful Memorial Day. Just dodge the raindrops. But if I would want one of those vegetarian hot dogs, Richard, says we all come to your house tomorrow. All right.
Yes.
One of these days, you will say that we're doing an event, and you're going to point at me and say I'm responsible for cooking, and I'm going to get it done because that's just the way life goes.
All right. With that, thank you all for joining Reporters Roundtable. We will see you next week. Have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.